Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will discuss about the nervous system. What is nervous system? What is its function? What are its components? So we will discuss this in this lecture. So organization of nervous system, as you know, the nervous system has two subdivisions, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord, and it acts as the integrating and command centers of the nervous system. While the peripheral nervous system, the part of nervous system outside the central nervous system, it consists mainly of the nerves that extend from the brain and the spinal cord. Now this includes the somatic, the visceral and the autonomic nervous system. So here you can see that the central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. The part of brain, this is the brain and this one is the spinal cord. So this is the central nervous system. While the peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves which are coming from the spinal cord and the brain, the cranial nerves and the peripheral ganglia. So these constitute the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of brain, spinal cord and accessory structures. The spinal cord functions as a major pathway to carry information between the body and the brain. Now the brain is responsible for interpreting this information and for directing body responses. Now during embryonic development, the central nervous system first appears as a simple tube known as the neural tube, which extends down the dorsal median plane of the developing embryonic body. So here you can see this is the developing embryo and this is the dorsal part of the developing embryo, and you can see a tube-like structure with various dilatations is developing in this part. Now the cranial most part is known as telencephalon. Telencephalon, the cranial most part, the forebrain or prosencephalon, it consists of two parts, the telencephalon and the diencephalon. So two swellings, telencephalon and diencephalon. Then comes the mesencephalon or the midbrain, and then rhombencephalon or the hindbrain. This part consists of two dilatations, that is metencephalon and myelencephalon, and the rest of the tube, it forms the spinal cord. So the walls of the neural tube, so these walls will form the nervous tissue, while the cavity inside, these are the cavities which narrow down and they will form the cavity spaces inside the adult brain, which are known as ventricles. Now the dilatations of the neural tube and their adult derivatives. Prosencephalon, as I have told you, prosencephalon or the forebrain, it consists of telencephalon and diencephalon. So telencephalon will form the cerebrum, while diencephalon will form the thalamus, hypothalamus and some other structures. Mesencephalon, the midbrain, will develop into the adult structure which is also known as midbrain. Then rhombencephalon, it consists of metencephalon and myelencephalon. This is also hindbrain. So the metencephalon, it will form the pons and the cerebellum, while the myelencephalon will form the medulla oblongata, and rest of undilated part of the neural tube will form the spinal cord. Now the diagrammatic representation, the pictorial representation of the adult derivatives of the neural tube. So you can see here the cerebrum. This is the cerebrum. This whole part is cerebrum. This one is the diencephalon. This lies in between the two cerebral hemispheres, beneath the two cerebral hemispheres. This consists of diencephalon, and diencephalon consists of thalamus superiorly and posteriorly, while hypothalamus anteriorly and inferiorly. Then the midbrain. Here you can see the midbrain part, and then the hindbrain, which consists of the pons and medulla pons. This is the pons, this is the medulla oblongata, and then the spinal cord. So here in sagittal section, we can again describe the structures. This is the cerebrum. This whole structure is the cerebrum. This is the cerebrum, and the half portion is known as cerebral hemisphere. Then comes the diencephalon. Here, diencephalon. This is the diencephalon, and thalamus and hypothalamus. Then the midbrain, the portion which is shown in green color. This is the midbrain. Then pons, medulla oblongata, and below the medulla oblongata, it is continuous with the spinal cord. And behind the pons and medulla lies the cerebellum, which is also known as the little brain. Now, meninges of the brain. The brain surface and the spinal cord surface, it is covered by three protective layers, namely the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the pia mater. So here you can see that this is the bone, whether in the upper part, in the brain part, the skull, or in the lower part of the central nervous system, that is spinal cord, the vertebral foramen. So bone, then comes the dura mater, then comes a space, I will tell you the name of space later. Then comes the arachnoid mater. Here you can see in the white part, and then the pia mater. So now you can see there is a white space between the dura mater and the pia mater, arachnoid mater and the pia mater, and this is filled with fibrous trabecula and blood vessels and a fluid known as CSF. So this is subarachnoid space. So this is again space. Another space exists between the dura mater and the skull bone, between the dura and the skull. So the first two spaces are potential spaces, that there is no actual space exists at this level, but a space can be formed by the presence of any fluid. A space can be formed. So the number one space between the skull bone and the dura mater is the extradural space. While the space, potential space, second space between the dura and arachnoid mater is the subdural space. Third space is between the arachnoid mater and pia mater. Now this pia mater is adherent to the underlying brain. Now the space between the arachnoid mater and the pia mater is subarachnoid space. Okay, so there are some folds of the dura mater. Number one is the falx cerebri. Now this fold of dura mater is present between the two cerebral hemispheres. I will show you later what are cerebral hemispheres. So the fold of the dura mater between the two cerebral hemispheres is falx cerebri. while the folds between the two cerebellar hemispheres are falx cerebelli. While the fold of dura mater between the cerebrum and the cerebellum is the tentorium cerebelli. Also, you can see that the dura mater, I will show you later on, it consists of two layers. So dura has got two layers. Number one is the endosteal layer, and number two is the meningeal layer. So these two layers are united to each other at almost all the places except the dural venous sinuses. So these are the places in between the endosteal and meningeal layer of the dura mater. So you can see here the one shown in the blue, it contains the venous blood. So ultimately all the dural venous sinuses, they drain into internal jugular vein. Now here again you can see the falx cerebri. This is the falx cerebri. This is present between the two layers of the two cerebral hemispheres. Between the two cerebral hemispheres, falx cerebri. You can see here falx cerebri. These are the two cerebral hemispheres, and the fold of dura mater, it is extending in between. So it is also extending around the brain. You can see. Now between the cerebrum and the cerebellum lies the tentorium cerebelli, and the fold of dura between the two cerebellar hemispheres are the falx cerebelli. So it is not shown in this picture. Now this is the sheet of the dura mater, which is covering the surface of the brain. You can see here. These are the two cerebral hemispheres separated by a longitudinal fissure into two cerebral hemispheres. This whole is the cerebrum, and it is divided into two parts, that is the cerebral hemispheres. Now this is the pia mater. You can see the glistening surface which is adherent to the surface of the brain, the pia mater, which also contains the blood vessels. Now this is the section showing the vertebral foramen and the spinal cord in it, and you can see the layers here. So again, this is the bone, vertebral foramen, and then the dura mater here, then arachnoid mater, and then the space, that is subarachnoid space, and then the pia mater, which is adherent to the surface of the spinal cord. So the space between the bone and the dura mater, it is known as epidural space. Epidural space. You know that anesthesia is given in this space, epidural space. It contains pads and certain veins and the nerve roots. You can see here the nerve roots. Now the second space is the subdural space, a potential space between the dura and the arachnoid, and then the subarachnoid space which contains the CSF. So at the level of spinal cord, the space between the bone and the dura mater is the epidural space, while in the brain and skull the space between the skull and the dura mater is the extradural space. Rest of the spaces are the same. So ventricles of the brain, as I have told you before, these are the cavities, fluid filled cavities, which are present inside the brain tissue, and they develop from the cavity of the neural tube. And in the cerebrum, now the cerebral hemispheres, it contains two cavities, two cerebral hemispheres, so that's why two cavities, that is the lateral ventricles present in cerebral hemispheres. Third ventricle is the cavity of diencephalon. Here you can see the two lateral ventricles, they are opening up into diencephalon. So the third ventricle is the cavity of diencephalon. Now this third ventricle, it is continuous with the narrow canal, which is also known as cerebral aqueduct, to the fourth ventricle, and this cerebral aqueduct is the cavity of the midbrain. Now the fourth ventricle. So fourth ventricle is the cavity of metencephalon and myelencephalon, and pons and medulla in front, upper part of medulla in front, and cerebellum behind. Then the fourth ventricle is continuous below in the spinal cord as central canal. So central canal is the cavity of spinal cord. So this ventricular system, it contains the CSF in it, and in the roof of the fourth ventricle there are communications with the subarachnoid space. So this subarachnoid space is present all around the brain and the spinal cord. So the CSF circulates in the ventricles. It circulates in the ventricles as well as the central canal and in the subarachnoid space. So CSF is produced in the lateral ventricles, in the third ventricle and in the fourth ventricle by a structure known as choroid plexus. Choroid plexus. So this choroid plexus consists of the ependymal cells. These are the neuroglial cells. If you remember, neuroglial cells, cuboidal shaped ependymal cells, neuroglial supporting cells of the brain tissue, and they are surrounded by tuft of capillaries. So this is the choroid plexus. The CSF filters out from the capillaries into the cavity of the ventricle, and then it is circulated from lateral ventricle, it goes into third ventricle. Also CSF is produced in the roof of the third ventricle, and then it goes through cerebral aqueduct into the fourth ventricle. So here you can see the cerebral aqueduct does not contain any choroid plexus. Then also in the roof of the fourth ventricle, the CSF is produced, and then it goes down into the central canal as well as the subarachnoid space from these foramina. So here you can see the CSF is going into the subarachnoid space as well as around the spinal cord in the subarachnoid space. Now, where does this CSF goes? CSF circulates in the ventricles. and the subarachnoid space through the foramen present in the roof of the fourth ventricle, and then it goes into the sinuses. As I have told you, what are sinuses? Sinuses are the spaces present between the meningeal and the endosteal layer of the dura mater. And here you can see this is the superior sagittal sinus. Superior sagittal sinus. So all the CSF, it goes in the superior sagittal sinus through the subarachnoid space. So this is the subarachnoid space, and a tissue of subarachnoid space extends into the dural venous sinus. This tissue is known as arachnoid villi. So the CSF, it gets absorbed into the blood of the venous sinuses through arachnoid villi. These arachnoid villi are valve-like structures. When the pressure is more in the subarachnoid space as compared to the venous blood, the CSF moves into the blood and then ultimately circulating through the various venous sinuses, it gets into the blood of the internal jugular vein and then to the heart. So this is how the CSF is produced, circulated and absorbed. So this picture is showing the choroid plexus. Here you can see the ependymal cells and the underlying tuft of capillaries. So this is the choroid plexus. Now here you can see the sinuses, various sinuses. So all the CSF get absorbed into the superior sagittal sinus, and then it is continuous with the other sinuses of the brain and ultimately drains into the internal jugular vein.